Today, we're digging into something that can cause a lot of distress for people living with dementia, and it's something you can find in almost every single room of the house. Yeah, we're talking about mirrors and why something so simple can suddenly become so scary.
If you're a caregiver, this probably sounds familiar. One minute, everything's calm, and the next, your loved one is anxious, maybe even angry, and you're just left trying to figure out what on earth happened. It can be completely baffling.
Well, what if I told you the source of that distress could be something you look at every day without even thinking about it? It's not something someone said or did, it's just a simple reflection. To really get a handle on this, we have to try and see the world from their perspective. This isn't about vanity or not liking how they look. It's about a really fundamental mix-up in the brain that affects how they recognize faces. And it can be absolutely terrifying. Okay, so here's the absolute key. When they look in the mirror, they don't see themselves. They see an intruder. Just imagine that for a second. You're in your bathroom or your bedroom, your private space, and suddenly there's a stranger. Just there. That's the kind of shock and fear we're talking about. And here's why that happens. There's this huge disconnect, you see. Internally, a person with dementia might still feel like they're 30 or 40 or 50 years old. That's their self-image. But the face staring back at them from the mirror, that's an older person they just don't recognize. That reflection doesn't match who they feel they are. So their brain concludes that has to be someone else.
Wow. This quote from a caregiver, it's just so powerful, isn't it? Not me. It just perfectly captures that deep, confusing feeling. This isn't just some abstract idea. It's what so many families are actually living through. And this brings us to a really common, practical problem. If your loved one suddenly starts resisting bath time or gets really agitated in the bathroom, it might have nothing to do with the water. It could be because every time they go in there, that stranger is there, watching them. So now that we get the why, let's talk about solutions. And the good news is there are some really simple things you can do, like right now, to make their home feel calmer and a whole lot safer. All right, let's start with the easy wins. Got a full-length standing mirror? Just turn it around so it faces the wall. Done. For mirrors on the wall, a towel or a pretty scarf draped over it works perfectly. And here's one people forget: windows. At night, a lit room turns a dark window into a mirror. So make a habit of closing the blinds or curtains before it gets dark outside to stop that reflection from ever showing up. Okay, but we don't have to stop with just quick fixes. We can actually get a little creative here and turn these problem spots into something that actually adds a bit of beauty to the room. So you can work right on the mirror's surface itself. Think about those adhesive fabric shades you can get, or maybe some contact paper in a nice soft color. You could even put up a beautiful poster of a beach or a forest. The whole idea is to replace the problem with something pleasant to look at. Now here's a really cool idea. You can get this special adhesive film that looks just like stained glass. It completely blocks the reflection, but it also turns the mirror into this beautiful piece of art that catches the light. How neat is that? And what do you do with those huge mirrored closet doors? You know the ones. Well, here's a super elegant fix. Just install a curtain rod right above the mirror and hang some nice light drapes. It totally softens the look of the room and makes it seem like there's another window there. Problem solved. Okay, so let's pull all this together. What's the big, important thing to walk away with from all of this? Look, we've gone over a bunch of practical solutions, but honestly, the exact number doesn't matter. What's really important is that each of these is a tool you can use to cut down on that fear and bring a sense of security and peace back into your home. And that right there is the heart of it. You don't always need some huge, complicated plan. Sometimes the biggest, most amazing improvements come from making these small, thoughtful changes to the space around them. Covering a mirror is such a small act, but it can have a massive impact. So I'll leave you with this thought. Once you start seeing the mirror problem, it kind of opens your eyes to other things, doesn't it? It makes you wonder, what other little tweaks to the lighting, maybe the clutter, or even adding a few simple signs could make an even bigger difference? It's a great question to keep in mind. Thanks so much for joining me.